Hi again. Uh, it's Monday night, sort of. Okay, so it's 2 a.m. technically on Tuesday morning, but I was gonna do this video on Sunday night. Kind of have an actual Sunday night video weekly, but if I'm being completely honest, I just fell asleep Sunday night and didn't do it. So here I am now. I was listening to, Look Around by Blues Traveler, and drinking a little Four Roses small batch um, on the rocks. So I was just, kind of hanging out. And what I'm going to talk about on this video is a suggestion, not really a suggestion, but a conversation that I had with one of my kids a couple days ago. Not like a heavy duty, in depth, crazy conversation, but kind of a simple question that gets asked a lot. So I thought maybe I'll talk about it on here, with you guys. So, what that question was cats or dogs, and the answer is pretty simple usually. But I'm not just gonna answer the question. I'm gonna talk a little more about cats and dogs. Like, I've had both. And I've been close to both, right? So I grew up with two dogs and three cats for most of my growing up years. Um, we had Tasha, who was a Malamute. We had Bonnie, who was a border collie mixed with something, I think Australian Shepherd or something. And then we had Lucky. Lucky was a pretty cool cat. She was one of the shy cats that we had growing up, but she was a good cat. And then we had Sylvia, who started her life in my family as Sylvester until we got her to the vet and found out she was not a dude. So we found out she was a female, and she became Sylvia. Sylvia was a really good cat as well. And then we had Pee-wee. Pee-wee was a large gray cat. All three of these cats were short-haired, but Pee-wee he was a big fella. He made it to like 22 years old. He, at the heaviest we weighed him, was like 25 pounds. Big cat. All my friends remember him for a lot of reasons. One reason, pretty simple, like he's a big cat, and he was always at my house. We got him when I was, like first grade, maybe second grade, somewhere in there, and he didn't pass away until I was like 24, maybe 25. So, he was around for a while. But also because any friends who spent the night at my house woke up in the morning with like their collar or the sleeve of their shirt like soaking wet, because he would lay next to you and chew on your clothes. So in the morning, it would be like soaking wet with saliva, cat saliva. Uh, Interesting memory for people who spent the night at my house to have, but it's true. So we had those two dogs and those three cats for most of my growing up years. until Lucky and Sylvia both. Actually, Lucky was still around, but Sylvia had died. Had to have her put to sleep. She had cancer, and she had lost an eye, and she was just you know not doing well. So we had her put to sleep, and then we ended up getting a cat later, like my senior year of high school, and her name was Mabel. So Mabel was around. Now, way before that, we had a cat named Tigger. Um, I don't really totally remember everything about Tigger. I have one picture of Tigger, and then I have vague memories of Tigger, not being around anymore. Um, I don't really remember a ton, so I don't have a lot extra to say. My grandparents had cats, Keisha and Sutana. They were good cats, um, although they were a little feisty. They were known to bite people on occasion. Um, my brother had a cat. His name was Q-Tip. When I lived with him, uh, Q-Tip was an interesting cat. He was hard to get to be friends with. He bit me in the eyebrow once, so that was neat. Um, but he was a good cat. Came to live with me for a while at one point, um, and that was pretty cool. Um, during the first several years of my marriage, we didn't have any pets. No dogs, no cats. Um, Mainly because we really didn't have a place to have them. We had no For several years we had no yard. At one point we had a yard, but we had no we had no time to put into having a dog, and that's when my brother's cat came to live with us. So, um, in general, the answer to the question is I like both cats and dogs. Um, but in my household, it's just easier for us to have cats. Um, we're busy. We're moving around a lot. It's not really not moving around, but like we're always doing something, and there's large spans of time where no one's home and no one is somewhere where they could take a dog. So it's just not fair to a dog, right? So we like dogs just fine, but cats are easier for us to maintain, and they don't care a whole lot when we're not home. So we have two cats. We have Cammy and Taz. Cammy's a Maine Coon, uh, or at least part Maine Coon, and then Taz is like part Norwegian forest cat or something. But Cammy's really loud, and Taz is very quiet. Um, they tend to, do what cats do and wander around, lie around, and on occasion, you know, prevent the odd rodent. Um, Thankfully, that doesn't happen very often, but we do have cats, and mainly because they're just easier for us to deal with our schedules and how much time we get to actually spend at home. Um, Now, my parents have two cats and two dogs currently, and they don't live too far away, like right next door. Um, so they have two dogs, Sadie and Shelby. They have two cats, Sam and Cleo, and Sam and Taz, our cat, we got them at the same time, because my son, we were one year, I think when he was in third grade, going into third grade, we were school shopping, and we decided to take the girls separate from him, so he didn't have to wait around for a whole bunch of girls clothes shopping. But one of the things he did was he convinced his grandma, my mom, to go look at the pet store at the cats that were there, and there were two cats there, and they were both really sweet cats. Sam was a little bit crazy. Sam jumped out of my arms straight into a window, not an open window, by the way. He was fine, but he was feisty. He just wanted to move around. We got them home, and we ended up with Taz, and she ended up with Sam. So they have their cats and dogs, and we have our cats. These are by no means the only animals that are in my life. Where I work at the distillery, we used to have a couple of dogs. We had two big dogs, Maddie and Nicholas, and they were my friends. Like, Nicholas would come barking around the corner, and then when he realized it was me, he sounded disappointed that he couldn't, actually chase me off. So he would just come over and let me pet him, and they would come in the distillery and hang out while I worked. Maddie generally didn't pay a lot of attention to me. Once she realized it was me, she would just stop barking and not worry about it. On top of them is Lyric. And Lyric is not a big dog. Lyric's a tiny dog. And Lyric has not really stopped barking at me since they got her. She's better now, but for years and years, barked at me on a nearly constant basis. And then there's Cleo. And Cleo barks at everything that moves, and she's kind of loud. And then there's Koopa, and Koopa barks at me all the time too, but generally slows down after a minute. So, plenty of dogs, plenty of cats. I like both. I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I'm just going to say one is easier for me and my family to have as a pet than the other is. So we have two cats. Someday, maybe, when people are retired and staying home more of the time, we might have dogs. But currently, it's just better for us and better for the animals, honestly, if we just have cats. It's not fair to a dog. They need you around. They want you around. And if I can't take a dog with me where I'm going, and neither can my wife, then that dog's just sitting at home and may not do well with that. So we just thought it was not fair to a dog to leave him at home like that. So I thought that was it's always an interesting question, and people give some pretty interesting answers, and other pets exist, just not in my house. There's no chance of like hamsters or mice or rats as pets in this house, just because there's at least one or two people in the house that don't really like those kind of animals. Lizards would be cool, but nobody really seems to be that interested in having any kind of lizard. Birds, we don't seem to have any interest in birds either. They're cool if you like them. Excellent, enjoy them. I'm pretty happy with the birds outside my house. But for now, we're sticking with cats. Other animals may become options later, but not currently. So, I hope that isn't too boring of a video or too silly or whatever, but that's just my take on it. Like, we like cats because they don't take quite as much effort, um, and we don't have the time to put in the effort for dogs. So, um, I'm just, enjoying my four roses. I'm gonna try to relax a little bit tonight. So I hope you're all doing well, and probably Sunday, because Sunday's Christmas Eve. In case you weren't aware, I don't know how you wouldn't be, but I probably will still do a video on Christmas Eve. Mainly because Christmas Eve for me is still pretty much the same as every other night. So I don't have any gifts to put out anymore because one, all the shopping's done and everything's pretty much wrapped except for one item. But also, my kids are older, so I don't have to do the whole, unwrapped gifts in the morning on Christmas morning. So I don't have to do any of that. I just have to be there when they wake up. So I will probably do a video then, just so that I keep a sort of a pattern. So hopefully you'll stick around to watch it. Like the video, share the video if you want. Maybe not a lot of people interested in my views on pets. So who knows? You may find somebody or not. Share if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good week. And I will talk to you next time. Cheers.